Our first guest this afternoon is Martin Kostian. Did I pronounce? How do you pronounce it?
Kostian. Pretty close.
Kostian.
Yeah.
I was pretty close. Okay. And Martin has spent about 20 years in the film industry. He's worked as a grip, electrician, set decorator, stills photographer, rigger, gaffer, cinematographer, and even a director. His love of film is deeply entrenched since childhood, and he can think of nothing he would rather do than help others achieve their filmmaking goals and dreams, be it an amateur production for a local society or a Hollywood feature. Martin strives to make sure that things are there to keep production running smoothly. So thank you for joining us, Martin, giving up part of your Sunday to share your knowledge with a large group of people who are very interested in what you have to say today. Welcome, Martin, and over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate everybody attending this Real Careers in Film and TV. I think it's an important aspect of what we're trying to achieve here in Vancouver Island. I am here because there's not a lot of people that represent film and television here yet. We're trying to get more and more people, and that's one of our goals. I presume you're all trying to get into this film industry as new people. That's what my presentation is about. I will only talk about how to get in and about what my aspects of that whole thing is, and I'll entertain questions at the end of it. But here we go. I'm going to do this as a screen share, as a slide presentation. So I'm going to get this started right now. Just go down to share. Yeah. Play. There we go. All right.
And
so
spacebar to advance.
Yeah. What is a grip? I mean, it's probably the most mysterious position seen during the credit roll of every movie. When I was a kid, I used to watch movies, and at the end of it, I'd follow the credits because I was a really enthusiastic movie watcher. And I went through like the thousands or the hundreds of different positions that there are, and all the hundreds of people that worked on movies. But there was always a couple in there, and grip and key grip were a pair of them that always mystified me. I'm like, what the hell is that job? Key grip, I always imagined was the person that had all the keys for the production, and they just wander around set to set and just open doors for people. Turns out that's not at all what it is. And when I finally got into the business, I realized how much bigger the job is. So grips work closely with electricians. When we make a movie, we need a lot of light to make a movie. And it takes a lot of people and personnel and equipment. And so we work with the electricians to light any given scene. As you can see in the slide below, there's a lot of lights. Well, there's only 2 lights, but there's a lot of other gear all around it. So you see the 2 lights. That would be the electrics department. And all the rest of the gear all around those 2 lights is the grip department. And that's what we do. We support the lighting of the set by the direction of the DP and our key grip. When there's a lot of sunshine and it's a beautiful day outside, we still have to work really hard, but the electrics get to stay on the truck and have lunch and have snacks and stuff like that. We go outside and we have to do all sorts of work. It's a really, really busy profession. You really don't get a lot of break time. You have to haul a lot of stuff. Those scenes that you see below us there, can't remember what movie that was now. But we worked really hard on that movie. The dolly track you see set up there, we had everything off the truck, holding up that dolly track, and went another 20 feet in the other direction. And when we leveled up, we had to use every single piece of gear that we had. We also work closely with the camera department. That's one of our main jobs. We help set up their camera placements. But we have dolly grips that work with them, but the rest of the grip team also works with them. We have to move a lot of stuff. Like the one picture you see below, there's a camera crane that had to go from all the way up that barn back there, all the way up to the middle of this muddy field. And we had to set it up, put it on track, and set up the entire scene out there. Grips are basically, glorified movers. And you have to have a lot of wherewithal, a lot of energy and stamina to, you make your way in this world. We also work in all sorts, and every time the camera moves, the grip department is involved, and the dolly department. We put cameras on cars, we put cameras on trains, we put cameras on airplanes. We put them anywhere they want to have them. There's, you know, like if they, every time we would like a camera up there, you can't say no. You just have to find a way to place the camera. If it's on the side of a cliff, under the ocean looking up, or whatever. You just have to find a way, and that's what we do. We also work with almost every department in some way, shape, or form. Cross collaboration is something we do regularly. We have our hands on almost everything because we have so many tools on our trucks, so much stuff at our disposal, that people come to us all the time to help them solve problems. On the right photo, we had to solve the problem of having snow in the middle of summer on one of the chutes. We couldn't get rid of the snow, so we tried covering it up. Everybody was people were pulling up torches and everything else. We had a lot of green stuff to put on there, so we took all of our tarps and all of our coverage to try and cover up the snow, which was seen through a window of a house. So the further off in the distance, it blended in pretty good. So we managed to achieve it, but it took us a good better part of the day to make that happen. We also had to, you have scenarios where the set tech department just doesn't have enough time or wherewithal to actually cover a whole set in shaving cream. That's what we had to do in the second set. We join in willingly, and and have a lot of fun doing it. On the third set, it was a World War II. It was a independent free production or a volunteer production, and so when you're doing things like that, you really do cross collaborate with a lot of departments, and you're there to help them solve problems that they find, and we do that with glee, and we solve a lot of problems that way. So it's a lot of fun working on these things. I really like working on the independent productions because they challenge your ability to solve problems and stuff like that. So it's a lot of fun. I highly recommend anybody trying to get into film, work on independent productions. It's probably one of the best ways to get in. Yes, grips are responsible for safety on set. They're in charge of all rigging that is required both in studio and on location, from suspending cars on moving rigs, from studio ceilings to placing cameras on cars, airplanes, for unique and dynamic shots. Grips are ultimately on-the-spot engineers, and they have an enormous toy box from which to draw, and that's entirely true. Like I said, we have on our trucks an enormous amount of gear, and they're all transferable to other. It's kind of like a big mechano set. You can do all sorts of things with it. It's like a big Lego box. You can make anything you want with it. And that's one of the appeals of why I became a grip, because I was big on Lego when I was a kid, and I was big on mechano and all that stuff. And it made sense to me to become a person that could play with those kind of toys, except on a much bigger level. And it came to fruition. It's pretty awesome. Camera rig that I did, we do that all the time. I've become sort of a specialist in camera. They're a lot of fun to do. It took me about a day to put that one together because, of course, you can't hurt the cars, and you have to do everything you can to protect the car and hold, about 100 pounds plus of camera gear off the side of the car. And of course, the cameras are expensive too, so they can't fall off or have any problems in that way. So it becomes a challenge, and a challenge I'm always glad to try and solve. Another camera rig will hold 3 cameras on the front of a car. I've got dozens of these pictures, but I only found these 2 so far. They're challenging. It's micro engineering, and it's a lot of fun to do. I really enjoy it. If you are of the mind, if you have a really good brain for that sort of thing, and if you really like challenging yourself for doing little projects like that and solving problems that seem insurmountable, then the grip department is your thing. The key roles in the grip department. The key grip he's the head grip. He's the #1 grip. He's the one with the most experience. He's probably gotten the job, and he runs a department of anywhere from 5. It could be even less than that. I've worked on a grip crew with 3 people, and anywhere from 5 up to like 30 or so people. I've never gotten that big, but I've heard of scenarios where that happens. This particular scene is a scene where we worked on Mount High Castle, and the key grip is John Westerlaken, and he works in big ways. He also did Planet of the Apes, and what else did he do? Can't remember now. But anyway, lifts like this. This is how we solve lighting problems. This is, again, the electrics. We're on the truck sipping coffees, and we're outside trying to control the sun. And we have rigging grips in every one of those baskets. There are 4 of them. And they're controlling the sun so that there's no harsh shadows, no harsh light on the actors in the middle of the scene. And there's also, I think there was 10 of us at that point on the ground doing other things. It's a highly intensive, there's a lot of work, it's a lot of heavy lifting, and a lot of thinking on your feet. It's invigorating and frustrating at the same time. Rigging grips, those are the guys that go ahead of us and build things to make our life easier on set. This was a rig to black out the window in the background. Went for night. Right now we're in daytime, and then we put blacks over top of the entire frame, and that whole frame comes down to go back to night. We had to do that 3 times. And the rigging grips would go ahead there and formulate a plan to try and make that happen for the scene. It takes about a day or 2 for them to figure it out, and I'll put it all together, and there's lots of cool pulleys and cables and all sorts of rigging contraptions that they come up with that we help them operate in the long run. And it's a really invigorating aspect of grip work too. I really like rigging grips. It's really quite cool. And then there's the best boy, which I did for about probably 10 to 12 years in both grips and electrics. You run trucks. You're in control of all the gear, and there's a lot of gear. That's a 48-foot trailer, and it's filled with carts and shelving and every type of gear and paraphernalia you could possibly think of, and there's always room for more. On one of the trucks I was on, you could fit all that stuff. You can also put a 24-foot camera crane on there, 2 dollies, and just endless. And on top of these trucks, we also have another 5-ton truck full of more important gear, more set gear that you go back and forth. What you can bring to smaller sets that you can't bring these big trucks into. And on top of, and some productions also have another truck, which is for the dolly gear. Things can get quite big, quite fast, and very, very expensive. Whoops, oh, I got rid of that slide. We also have to think on our feet. That last slide was me trying to weld. I happened to have a welder on the truck, and we had to solve problems. Something had broken off one of the props pieces, and everybody was at a loss. And I said, wait a second, I have a welder on my truck. And we quickly went back to the truck and welded the piece together. It took about 20 minutes, and I got it fixed, and we saved the day by welding the piece together. You have to think on your feet. You have to, we're also like a big hardware store too for a lot of departments, and that's why we do collaborate quite a lot. And at the end of the day, we have to pack those trucks up again. They're packed to the nines. There's no room for anything else. You can see that inside that truck. That's a 5-ton truck, and there is gear all the way up to the tailgate. You can barely close the door at the end of it. And the next morning, you have to unpack it all again, take it all out, play with it, and put it all back in again. It's a lot of work. Glorified movers. Dolly grips, they're in charge of anything that makes the camera move. You have the dolly on the ground there, along with Mark Irwin, as we were shooting one of the Pup Star movies here. And the dolly grips take care of moving all the camera stuff. They're in charge of safety for the camera. There's the guy on the truck there. He's safetying that guy with the steady camera rig while we're racing down the road. There's handheld cameras. We can do miles and miles of track. You have to get pretty good at being able to level track. It's quite a skill that it takes a while to figure out. It's a lot of fun. I did Dolly Grip for a while. I did it probably for at least 4 or 5 movies, and it's a very stressful job. And I avoid it as much as I can because I don't really like that level of stress. But some people really fall into it; they really like it. So, you know, that's another aspect to grip work. There is a lot of places where you can fit in. Just some scenarios where we have to work. Again, mounting cameras on cars and trying to find ways of lighting scenarios, like those windows on the left-hand side there. Those windows, we had to shoot light into those windows, but we were looking out of them. So we had to figure out a way to freestand a bunch of lights without seeing their support structure. And so we had to suspend them over the window, and that took a better part of a few hours to put that together and set them all up. And also had to put gel on the window because it was we were trying to make it look a little more sunsetty. Yeah, it was there's a lot of interesting things you can do. We also do a lot of tenting of buildings because we're trying to shoot day for night. So you have to try and make the whole room inside look black and still have to be able to see outside and just see like patio lights and things like that. We're in the middle of the day. It's a lot of prep and hard work and a lot of manpower. More setups. And the other thing about gripping is that you get to work in locations that are completely unique. You'll never see them anywhere else. Like they're all human made, especially sets inside and out that are made to look like medieval villages and things like that. But you also get to work in locations that nobody else really has. Really doesn't really get to go. Like I worked on top of on the roof of the Hotel Vancouver. Never, it was interesting and quite thrilling. And you know that there's not a lot of people that were able to go up in places like that. I went down to you're working deep in mine shafts, and you work. I lost my mind, but there's oh yeah, right. You also go into places that the front sign of the door says condemned. Not that I'm excited about that, but you do get put into situations that you're not most people will not ever see. You get to go into the bowels of the post office downtown in Vancouver, which is now defunct, but and also Riverview, which is this is an old mental hospital, and you shoot all over the place there, and there's things you see that most people will never see. It's really kind of fun. You also get to encounter, like when you work with animals and things like that, you get to work with bears and crows and all sorts of cockroaches and things like that. And we're helping the wranglers and stuff like that, trying to keep these things under control. It's a completely unique experience that you will never see anywhere else. Setups are big. There's a lot of lights. Once again, and every light, there's 1, 2, 3 lights there. Everything else there is all the grip department. And once again, it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of people. So we're always in need of extra people. So people trying to, you guys trying to come into this and find a way in. This is, like I'm going to tell you a few things that you can probably do to help your prospects. Every type of condition. Every type of condition. We don't stop working. The only time I've ever stopped working is because there was an active shooter. Or there was an armed man at Riverview that had escaped, and we were about to shoot there, and they drove the entire production to a halt, and we were told to leave immediately, and we lost the day. Any other time, we would work. There's not a lot of stuff that would make us stop working. Rain really has no bearing on it. Wind and snow, thunder, lightning. I've had one day where we had so much rain it washed part of the set away, and we just struggled to try and keep that set together, and we kept shooting anyway. And it was madness. Well, snow, no problem. It's cold and miserable, but you have to do it anyway. I worked on my truck when I was a best boy, and it was up to 45 degrees one day inside that truck. And yeah, and we just keep working. Doesn't matter. Sense of humor is always a good idea. We have that's one of the beauties of working on film. There's a lot of people working there, and most people, and I say the vast majority of people, have a really good attitude, and most of them have a really good sense of humor, and they find ways to make the day go by easier and make it all much more fun to work in. The last guy's he had false teeth. We were actually on a vampire movie, so we walked around with his false teeth and all the time. It's funny. So getting in, what can you do? First of all, decide where you want to fit in. What do you want to be? I decided right away when I decided to come to Vancouver in 2000 that, upon looking it up and studying it, I realized that the grip department really fit for me because I really was a mechanically oriented person. I had a really good mind for it. I also was very visually oriented, so I could picture what needs to be done and how to do it just by looking at things, and I learned quickly. And so I went into that. And yeah, I got into it. I volunteered, and I did that for 2.5 years of volunteering before I finally started getting enough paid gigs to make my life in film workable. Before that, during that, I had to have all sorts of different jobs in between. But decide where you want to get in, and if it's the grip department, good for you. And if it's a grip department, educate yourself on the role. What do we do? We, as I just told you, you know what we do here, and you can also look it up online. There's lots and lots of courses, lots and lots of information about what grips do, lots and lots of detailed videos on YouTube and such on all the different parts of a grip's job and what they do and the gear that they handle. One of the things you can do for the grip department before you even try or maybe during, is learn your knots. That's one of the most important things you could do as a grip, is learn your knots. Get a piece of rope and learn 3 major knots. And that would be the bowline knot, the clove hitch, and the trucker's hitch. Figure those things out, and you will already be a champion on any truck, on any grip truck, and on any set where they need knots tied. Because I've seen people just struggle with this stuff, and they fail badly, and it's a bit embarrassing. So learn your knots. That would be a good one for a grip. That's something you can do right now. And scour the places that post notices seeking help on films. Craigslist, Facebook. Facebook has all sorts of sites that you can go to, and lots of groups of people that are just trying to find people that are helping them, that can help them with some skill sets, and even not. It's a valuable source of work. Anything you do on any film is valuable towards your ultimate knowledge of your job. I think that it doesn't matter how small a production is, if it's a video or a little short film, anything you do will help you, and especially if you take some knowledge with you. And on top of that, you will meet people that can advance your career in the future as well. I think it's very important that you do all these little films. I still do them. I think they're fascinating. I think they're fun to do. Some of the best films I've ever worked on are these little short films, and I've worked on as independents as a volunteer, and it's always been a blast. Join any organization that supports filmmaking in any aspect. Here in Victoria, I have Cinevic. We have the Victoria Film Commission. Join them. Put your name out there. Put your resume in there. They will help you find jobs, and they will also put your name forward, and help by joining them. they become stronger, but and make the the Victoria Film Commission becomes stronger because now they can offer more to the productions that come in here. So the more people we have joining up here is better. You practice in any way you can, the minutiae of the position you are seeking. Like I said, know your knots. If if you want to go into electrics, learn about electricity. But ultimately, in the electrics department, you can get a ticket in electricity. It's a I forget what it's called now. It's a ticket to work. You can actually take that towards working in the outside the film industry as an electrician too, with a bit more training. But it does work. It does advance your career in more than one aspect. I think it's very useful. And in any other, all the other departments, there are ways of training yourself to become a better employee in that area. And acquire the tools necessary to arrive to set fully prepared and start the day. If you do get a call, make sure you do come equipped. Even if it's independent film, you need the tools necessary. I'm talking about grips now because I'm not sure about the other ones, but if you do come to set, have yourself a belt with tools on it, have a wrench, have a pair of pliers, have a knife. There are when you look it up online, you can see all the tools necessary. And I'll even post it on my website. All the tools necessary to come to set prepared. But being prepared on set is a very important aspect. We don't have enough tools to pass out to everybody when you do show up without anything on you. And arrive on time. Film industry has no time for waiting. It's very much frowned upon if anybody arrives late. It's not a pretty picture. I don't recommend it by anybody. If you don't know where you're going when you have to go to a set, drive to it the day before. Find out where you have to go, and then the next day you know exactly where you're going. You won't be late. Can't say that enough.
Great.
Be professional and respectful of all personnel. That's really important. I can't say enough about that. It's all about respect. No, don't put anybody down. Don't renege anybody. Just be professional and have fun. That's the main thing. That's why I got into it. I will not work on a film set where I'm not having fun. I've left enough film sets to prove that point. If I don't like my key grip or something like that, I'll finish the day, but the next day I won't answer the call. So I'm here to have fun and to make really good films. If I'm miserable and not and not liking where I am, I will not continue on. It's just bottom line for me. How I did it. I worked on a film called Savage Island when I first came to Vancouver in 2000. The film was released in 2004, but I worked on it in 2000. And I came to Vancouver and I said, hey, I want to be a grip. And this film company called me up and invited me to come down and sign up for doing a volunteer position, but deferral payment. They were going to pay me when they had money. And so I worked on that film, and it's probably the most grueling work I've ever done in my life. I had no idea what I was doing, and what to expect. There was no basis of comparison. But when they hired me, they made me sign a contract, but on the top of the contract it said key grip. And so I started out in this film business as a key grip. So I had to learn all this stuff on my own. I did my first 2 movies that way, and just learning by the seat of my pants. But it was interesting, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what not to do as well as what to do. I will never do it again. Not from that aspect. Try and get yourself from the ground up. Don't start from the top down. It's really tough. I can tell you that. You can look me up on IMDb. You can see all the productions I've been on.
You can go longer than 5.
Slide one. Here we go. And me and my wife came to Vancouver she went into the interior design. She got a degree in interior design, and so she's decided maybe she could try getting her foot in the film industry too. So we also did. She also started doing volunteer work along with me, and so she designed film sets, and I ended up being key grips on all of these films. I mean, it was a lot of fun, and it was, you know, that's the kind of thing that you just do. You just keep volunteering, and I did volunteering well into the time that I was already an active film, you know, actively working in paid film, but I still did volunteer work because I loved it so. And you just keep learning, and you find new ways of doing things that you never thought of when you were on the set, because everything's sort of, there's certain ways, there's certain set ways of doing things on film sets. And when you're doing it on your own, you have less gear and less time, you find interesting new ways of solving problems. And we ended up building the entire set. We did almost ran the whole time, the entire production ourselves. It was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of fun. I also dabbled in electrics for about 3 years. I got into the best boy position and did a lot of work in electrics. I mean, that's one thing you can do too, just branch yourself out. Don't just say, I'm going to do a grip. If they offer you an electrics job, take it. It's not difficult. It's not any more difficult than grips, and it's just as much fun. And it's a different side of things. And as an electric, if you know grips already, you can help the electrics out. You know, that you can think on 2 levels then. And I think that's really important too. If electrics have grip experience and grips have electric experience, you can help each other out to infinite degrees. It's really, really useful. You're a lot more friendly to each other, and you can see the problems each one has, and solve them together. I think it's very useful. Sorry, guys. There we go. And aim high. Shoot for the stars. Do what you can. Do everything you know, like, focus on your target, and you'll be working, and you'll come through this with golden. Working in film is unlike any other job. I've worked in a bunch of different fields, and this is the one that has the most camaraderie. It's like a family, and yeah, you will work with some of the best and smartest people you'll ever know. And you're going to you're working at the top of the food chain. You're working with the best of the best at this point. You know, when you get up there, even at the, you know, as you climb, you see all the smart people out there, and you know they're going to go far. And it's one of the funnest things about film working with films, the people you meet, and the level of intelligence and dedication is unmatched. I think it's awesome. Yep, my favorite quote. Why grow up when you can work in film? I live by that. I think it's one of the best quotes out there. That ends my presentation. Thank you, Darlene.
Thank you, Martin. I love that quote. Why grow up when you can work in film? That's brilliant. I think I'm going to have to get that one up on my wall. So thank you. Thank you for all the imagery. I think it really helps people to more fully understand what a day might look like working as a grip. So we appreciate all the time you took to put that presentation together, and to your assistant who is working with you. Thank you. We have a couple of questions here, Martin, starting with one from Andrea. And Andrea is asking about female grips in the business. Do you see them? Are we starting to see more female grips, or what might the future look like for a woman wanting to get into grip department?
Oh, please come in. We love female grips. I mean, they're among the hardest working grips we have. They, you know, I mean, you know, sometimes it seems like they're trying to prove something, but you know, we just appreciate them being there. They can do as much work as any grip and more. We see more and more of them all the time, and they're always wonderful to have. They usually come with a really great attitude too. And yeah, no, we have no problem with female grips. We have no problem with anybody. I mean, anybody can be a grip. It's an easy job.
I would imagine one of the criteria is just a great physical condition. I think you are moving all day, lifting all day, doing all kinds of activities requiring a pretty good physical condition. Is that right?
Well, I would say that's a probably good idea, but I have seen people in not so great physical conditions and they can work just as hard as the rest of us. It's about
Ah,
mind. It's all about your attitude and the way you think about your job. No, I've
okay.
seen people that are not in great physical condition at all, but they have mind power, and that works too. You don't
And
have to.
I imagine a little dash of endurance helps with a long day on set.
Yeah, endurance, especially sleep endurance. Sleep deprivation is a real problem.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, for everybody in the industry. Okay, so we have another question here from Andrew. Martin, when beginning a new project, how far in advance does the grip department begin their prep for the shooting schedule? And do you get to see locations in advance to know what kind of challenges you may be facing?
Yes, the people that get to see the locations in advance would be the key grip and sometimes the best boy. Nobody else in that. They would probably spend about a week or two before the shoot dates to do all that. But but for the rest of the crew, we usually get about a few days to a week to set up a truck, and then when the truck, then after that it goes to set, and then you start shooting. So there's not a lot of time for the regular grips, but yeah, key grips and best boys and rigging grips.
Now, and because you are responsible for getting that entire set ready, um, what kind of call times are you looking at for within your department? I'm assuming you get some fairly early call times.
And that really depends on the shoot, of course.
Yes.
The famous one is you get a 7 a.m. or even a 5 a.m. call time on a Monday, and on Tuesday it goes to 6, and on Wednesday it goes to 12, and on Thursday it's 2, and on Friday it's 5 p.m. It's one of those shoots where they tend to put the night shoots towards the end of the week because then they can make noise on a Friday night, and it's called a Friday. So you work through Friday night all the way into Saturday, and you have a 1 day weekend. So yeah, so the call times change quite a bit. Most calls these days, it's been really good lately. We mostly do 12-hour days. I've been doing 12-hour days for quite a long time now. Probably about 5 or 6 years. Before that, it all spread out a lot more, but they've been pretty good about keeping it to that time now.
Good.
Everybody's pretty happy about that. And most
Good.
people.
Now, as everybody's ramping up to get back to work, how are you finding COVID has affected your day-to-day job? What are you having to do differently?
Well, that's a mystery to me because I haven't worked since October. And so COVID came up in between that. And I've been talking to people in Vancouver, and they barely know either. It's just starting up now. I knew, well, we know there's some rules and regulations, and like they're trying to put in ways of doing things that everybody's following. But I have never actually seen any of that happen. It's going to be very, very challenging. I think most productions are going to be slowed down by a hell of a lot in the next little while.
Yes, I imagine until everybody kind of develops the new habits within their department.
That's right. Yeah. So.
Well, we appreciate you taking this time, and I want to thank you for giving a shout out to Cinevic and Indie Films. I think a lot of our presenters have mentioned, and I couldn't agree more, that independent film is a brilliant starting point for a lot of people. The sets are usually smaller. Yeah. They are easier to learn the various departments and to try working in the various departments.
Right. You learn so much more. You learn, because there's so little people. You have to do all sorts of jobs. And you're not even grip. Sometimes when you're doing these short films, you have a key grip and you're working with him, but he disappears in the washroom. Pretty soon you're the key grip. And then, well, okay, now the septic guy's gone. So you're not going to move all the septic in there. And you learn a lot. And I think that's so important.
I couldn't agree more. And for those of you who are attending today, you can find out more by visiting cinevic.ca. You can find out all kinds of details about what membership there involves. And you'll get some great opportunities to work on local independent film sets and start to build up a resume. So Martin, thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to add to your presentation, or shall we let you go for the rest of the afternoon?
Nothing more to add. Unless there's any more questions, I'm pretty good with it. Yeah.
No more questions, but I think that is a comment on how thorough your presentation was. So, we all appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Okay. You have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.